ladies and gentlemen. I thought I would just do this really quick video to just basically add my 2 cents into the topic about PCs vs consoles. I'm not getting into the hardware debate. That is not what this video is about. At one point in the past, I've owned an original Xbox, an Xbox 360, an Xbox One, and a PS4. I own none of those consoles now. Oh, I also owned a PS Vita as well. I own none of those handhelds or any of those consoles now. I've gone back to my PC. You may say, oh, I'm a PC elitist. You may disagree with me. But the point I'm trying to make is, with this video, is the fact that all these console ladies, or console fan ladies, who basically go, our hardware is better than PCs. I've got one thing I want to point out. Without a PC for the game to actually be created on, then you've got hardware. That's it. You've got a box of hardware. Without something to actually write the software on, you cannot, in any way, shape or form, write a console game on a console. You need something like either Visual Studio, Unity, or some other tool like that to actually create the base logic for the game on. Then you need things like Photoshop, 3D Studio Max, and other art packages to actually create the 3D models. I've never ever seen a console that can do that. So, however superior you think you are, going, oh, our systems are better for gaming, and even then, I don't think consoles are that shit hot for gaming. Okay, some of the PC ports of games have been a little bit dodgy. I'm thinking of Call of Duty there, Modern Warfare and things like that. But yeah, sorry about the pop-up. Yeah, back to what I was saying. Yeah, I mean, there have been a few dodgy console ports onto PCs which run rubbish, but a big chunk of the PC games you get on things like Steam, GOG, Uplay, and obviously things like Battle.net are really, really good. They run at 60 FPS or even higher, depending on your graphics card, and they are really, really good. The other thing I would like to point out about consoles, and this is one of my biggest bugbears when I actually owned a console, when I either had a PS4 or the Xbox One, is the fact that you end up having to wait for games to update. Okay, the PC, I have to wait for stuff to update, but, and this is the biggest caveat I can say here, is the fact that at least with a PC, when it's updating, I can go and do something else in the background. I can play another game. I can do some software development. I can fire an emulator up. I can watch telly on the computer. But where with a console, it's, right, that game's updating, that's it. You have to literally leave the console sat there for maybe 4 or 5 hours while it pulls down a huge patch. Where with a PC, you can basically be productive on a PC for 4 or 5 hours while potentially something updates or a game downloads. But as I said, with a console, there is no true multitasking. There is no task manager. You cannot switch between tasks. It's, right, this game is updating, I'm not even going to launch the game till it's finished updating. Where with a PC, I could say, right, I wanted to say, for instance, play Warcraft. Oh, it's in the middle of an update. I know, I'll just fire something else up. Left 4 Dead 2, something else from my Steam library, or as I said, get on with some serious work. That is the advantage of a PC over a console any day of the week. It is the fact that you can basically get the console to actually just... Sorry, you can get the PC to just work. Where with the console it's, right, I'm going to sit here for the next couple of hours, updating this game, and you can do bugger all else with me. That is my biggest bugbear with them. I know I'm going to get hate for this, and I really don't care. It's true. Okay, you could say to me, why don't you leave it updating overnight? Well, I really don't want to leave the console or anything that I don't need to leave plugged in overnight running. I see it as a waste of electricity. And to be honest, I don't know what games would need updating. I would have to go, right, put each game in, see what needs updating, find out which is the biggest patch, get that to update overnight. When I had the Xbox One or the PlayStation, I couldn't schedule. There was no way to basically I could see to schedule an update to say, right, update this at whatever time. You still needed the disc in the drive. So, as I said, that is my biggest bugbear with consoles, is the fact that you end up having to leave games in the drive while they update. And the other thing with them is, half the time with day one releases, you end up having to pull a bloody big patch down. Where if you buy something on Steam, okay, you've got to pull the entire game down on Steam, but usually any patches are included in that download. It isn't, oh right, I'm going to download the game, and then I'm going to download maybe a 60 gig patch. Okay, that may be a bit excessive, but you see what I'm getting at, where with some of these day one release of some of these games, it's sort of, classic example I can think of, Master Chief Collection. Bought that on day one. Bought day one version of that. Put it in. Oh, 40 gig download. Left it running 4 or 5 hours to pull that down. Then I was actually able to play it. It's just ridiculous. However much these console fan ladies say their systems are better, you can't be as productive on a games console as you can be on a PC. It's clear. So, as I said, that is my biggest bugbear, is the fact that all these game console fan ladies basically go, consoles are better. Without PCs to actually do a lot of the grunt work for you, you wouldn't have your games in the first place. And as I said, also the functionality of consoles for updating. I could never get it to update, or even if another game was running in the background, I could never get it to update in the background. Where with Steam, I can say, right, use 20% of my bandwidth to update this game and give me 80% of the bandwidth for something else. You couldn't do that on your console. It was all or nothing. So the swings and roundabouts with every platform, but at the end of the day, my opinion is consoles are not as good as PCs. You can't be as productive on them. And you've also got to leave a console to update while... You've got to leave a console to update. You can't play another game while it's pulling an update down. Nothing works in the background. There's no multitasking. So I thought I'll just have my 2 cents on this. Thank you for watching. Leave any comments below. And thanks again.